Hey! It's Enrico Pallazzo!
Utah, give me 2.
Pallazzo!
Utah, give me 2.
Good evening, all of our Pallazzo podcast family. It is your guy, Ben Chase, and my man, Robbie Baseball here, Rocky Mountain Robbie. And we are here tonight to talk to you about some hot hitters. Ooh, hot hitters.
Young hot hitters.
Young hot hitters.
And that's as close to the candle as we'll get.
I just say we're starting to get really close to Wander Franco territory here. So we gotta be.
You brought him up. I mean,
I just, it's hard to resist.
That's what he said about the girls. Anywho,
just gonna say. Okay. On that note, so just so you know, Robbie, my girls last week, before they went to bed, begged to turn on our podcast. And so they were watching it upstairs as we were recording. And I had no idea. And so I said, was everything okay? My wife's like, I think you were all right. They didn't pick up anything that you guys were throwing down anyway. So I'm like, oh, good Lord. So
yeah. Okay. Well, we'll keep that in mind.
Yeah. But they aren't watching tonight. So they aren't doing that. So anyway, it's been a busy week. Another busy week. Guys coming up, guys going down. I mean, it's been a weird year for that. This seems like more than I'm used to early in the year. I don't know about you, Robbie. Does this feel like there's more guys that haven't been up before that are coming up this early in the year?
I find it's hard to tell because I like to think like, okay, yeah, like there's guys moving, but there's always guys moving. But really, like it genuinely seems like not just the big names that you always hope will get called up, but like we're just seeing players movement. Like they're starting clocks. There's a bunch of guys who are in recovery or injuries that are being pushed to the 60-day DL, freeing up 40-man spots to bring certain players up. There's a couple of them we'll mention tonight that I wouldn't have thought we would have seen unless there were like dire circumstances, but teams seem willing to start clocks for guys that I thought were organizational depth, that just every facet we can imagine, which is great because it means if you perform, you can get called up. Will Wilson's an excellent example. We talked about him Monday night. You'd put him on the show sheet. I was like, yeah, that is an excellent guy to throw on. His stats have been great. Like within 24 hours of our conversation, Cleveland Brass was like, those guys are right. Let's bring them up. Since then, he's got his first major league hit. He had to hit Sunday night. I mean, it's we'll wait for a ring, right? We'll take a ring from a team that really believes in us. But yeah, it's been kind of fun. And then as a result, when we're looking at the lower levels, we see promotions also happening. I mean, it's to a minor extent, it's harder to track, but we're seeing these guys get promoted because there's a spot on the AAA club, which becomes the Doubl-A club, which becomes the High A club, and players are moving. So it creates more excitement for us for sure.
So we had a really fun thing that happens probably 10 times a year or so in the minor leagues. We had a combined no-hitter.
I think there were 2.
I was just going to ask, I guess I don't remember who the other one was.
Syracuse Mets.
Oh, there we go. I was going to say, I thought it was a higher level than Winston-Salem. That's why I couldn't.
I forgot to put in the notes. I put Winston-Salem. I forgot to put the Mets. Yeah.
So that's fun. I mean, that's really about as much coverage as we really need to do on this show for it. That doesn't necessarily mean any of these guys are going to be in the major leagues because they were part of a no-hitter. I mean, like I said, you'll get about 10. You'll get about 10 or so a year combined no-hitters. It's really fun when you get the combined perfect game. That gets to be really fun in the minor league level, but you almost never, if ever, get a no-hitter or perfect game that goes all the way to one pitcher. That just doesn't happen. So these are pretty much always going to be your combined variety. But and your Rockies now have a superstar.
They got a guy, baby. We got a player, baby, Jordan Beck. And we always believed in Jordan Beck, and no one can tell us we didn't. He went down and did the thing that you always want, which is make an adjustment, and then he was brought back because everybody on the Rockies is just itching to get out of the lineup. And since he's been, the year stats here at 46 at bats, 261 average, 5 home runs, looks totally fine. 4 stolen bases, you got 10 RBIs, 9 runs. Like, oh, okay, yeah, he's zipping along okay. The the OPS is itching around 1,000, but that's for the year. Like, since he's been back, he's been dynamite. He had
I was gonna say,
one homer down,
it was like a 600 OPS, and now it's 1,000. That's he's got it. You know what he did for the first time already in this game tonight?
Did he
hit a double? He has
really?
had a double all year long.
He did have walks since he's been back. My apologies.
Yeah, he had his first double of the year, and then scored on a dinger by Goodman. But yeah, that's his OPS is now firmly over the 1,000 mark as we are speaking right at this moment. Obviously, that's we're talking early season, that can change by tomorrow, but
it's good to see.
Yeah,
it's good to see. And I mean, we can get into how this can fade away later on, and you can talk about Kyron Paris being like 0 for a billion since his hot start, and he's now, I think he's like 0 for 21, something like that, with 12 Ks. But Beck is like going the other way on it. Is he's made an adjustment, and that's what we're hoping he can continue to do. And as they, pitchers make that adjustment back on him, hopefully now he can, play that game a little more evenly than just boom, tanked. And he was looking overmatched, because the Rockies have talent in the outfield. We need them to have some production to go along with that talent.
This has been their constant issue. And we're going to talk about a guy later tonight that was one of my favorite guys coming into the draft last year. And then when he went to the Rockies, the crazy thing is, one of the guys I compared him to in college was Jordan Beck. And I went, oh, crap, this is going to mean that he's going to look really good for 3 years in the minors and then just never be able to make that transition. And maybe they can figure something out there. I mean, it does require that they spend more than a $5 bill on their minor league development system. But, I think they've kicked it up to a 20 at this point. So, maybe there's some hope.
Hopefully that it is nice to see. And there have been a bunch of guys this year who came up and didn't do great in the last year or two of their promotions. Kyron Paris is another name to bring up in that, where they came up and it's like, oh, overmatched, and they have had success. Now Paris has, as I mentioned, been struggling, but he had that hot start, which should buy him opportunity to stick around. Or if they've seen that something's changed, they might want to, promote him just to get him to, they might want to demote him just to get him to adjust, kind of like Beck did, and then bring him back up. It's great to see. And Michael's popping in here on the day. More rookies are being called up than before. Yeah, we're seeing it.
Well, no, see, Chad's talking here about Tommy White. Now, are we talking about A's former LSU slugger, Tommy White? Because that'd be a hefty boy hot, which is a whole different kind of hot that we're,
Yeah, we can go. I was thinking if he was talking about one of my Sky Carp fellas, because I like to find news with them after I've seen them live. I got to say, loving that minor league baseball experience I had last year. It's paying off big time with my follows for the old Sky Carp.
Yeah.
And then I randomly came across this fun thing that happened. It was just over a week ago. I think it was like the 20th or around there. A guy is what I'm calling him, Fenwick Trimble, who was a 2022 4th round pick, had 6 stolen bases in a game with, count it, 0 hits. 0 hits. That's minor league baseball.
These are the fun things that can happen in a night of minor league baseball.
Yeah, so I thought that was really funny when they posted it up, that it was, I think it tied a record. I don't think it broke a minor league record for most stolen bases in a game without a hit. But that's really interesting. And I mean, you need good pitching to keep a guy who can get on the bases like that from doing it. And the Mets have brought one back that I'm interested in. Old man Brooks Raley is back with the Mets after going through Tommy John last year. He's back obviously earlier. Well, it is
currently right now. Anyway,
it's interesting because he has gotten save holds in the past with the Mets. I don't know how many saves. I mean, single digits, but he's been a back end of the bullpen guy. He's been a tight situation guy for them. And as far as baseball, as far as baseball goes,
hurt right now, so that lefty back end guy is a pretty good is
Yeah,
open.
and there's a team option, I think it is, for next year. So even though this is like a partial year contract, it could really be one and change. And it's good. I've liked Rayleigh since he was with Tampa Bay. I can't remember if it was a Milwaukee trade, Houston trade, something like that, where he ended up in Tampa Bay, I think. And I remember being like, oh, Rayleigh's interesting. And I think I kind of streamed him or picked him up in season in some dynasty leagues. And then he signed with the Mets. And or maybe it was Tampa Bay he re-signed with for 2 years. That's what it was. And he was like one of their top 5 paid players making $4 million. And I thought it was just so comical that that's who it was. Anyway, they traded him after he had a good year again with Tampa to the Mets. And that's where he is. But he's back and nobody is going to care but me. More people will care about this one though, Ben. We've got rehab assignments. Yuri Perez is back out. Oh, it's great. They don't need to rush it, but he's there.
90.
Yeah, I know.
Oh,
I didn't want to put.
I don't
like,
want him doing that consistent, but it's fun to see him dial it up once, and throw 95, 96 most of your fastballs, but show me you still got 98. That makes me happy.
Yeah. When they tell you you're pitching 30, you're throwing 35. When you hit your 31st or second pitch, then crack one high so we remember it. And Ryan Weathers also is coming back. I don't know if he'll be on the same schedule, if they'll speed him up. I'm honestly not sure what the Mets are going to, what the Marlins are going to do, because rumors keep going on about Sandy Alcantara possibly being traded this year. And if that's going to happen,
first, though, right?
Well, I mean, at this point, there'll be teams that'll take anybody. But it's whatever. Miami's interesting to see what they could do. But this is great, meaning that both potentially Perez and Weathers could be back for the summer, and we could then see that excellentness come through with them. And 2 weeks ago, I picked Connor Gillespie to be my Jesus Take the Wheel pick. And he was demoted, I think, after that third start that I called it, which that gives you an indication of how well it went for him. But again, when you're taking the Jesus Take the Wheel pick, they're not all going to be Ryan Feltner, They're not all. But the current one is Feltner, who had a hell of a start last week. I was so excited. And I had mentioned when I said it a week ago, if he got pushed, he'd be given the gift of Atlanta. And Ben, who is on the bump tonight for the Rockies against Atlanta?
It is Feltner and Bryce Elder. So, folks, take the over on the on whatever your over under is. Take the over on the Braves Rockies in Colorado tonight. Although I will say the Braves are scoreless right now with one out in the third inning. So, but it is.
Come on, guys, come on, right?
It is baby. Only 3-0. So
yeah, that's not safe. But yeah, last Saturday or Sunday, was it Glasnow? 2 2/3 of an inning, 2.2 innings. Shoulder again. God damn it. And it's crazy to think that the Dodgers have all these pitching talents, is a way to say it. And they currently look to have a 4-man rotation. I don't want to consider not rushing. I don't want to consider Ohtani needing to be in that rotation. That's not what's best for him and all the money that was spent. But I don't know if we want to maybe look at a bullpen game where you might have Ohtani make a presence, for 2 or 3 innings at some point.
They've got some guys. I mean, Justin Wroblewski and Ben Kasparias, and these guys were starters, and there's
Kasparias seems like an obvious one to me.
Yeah. I mean, it just seems like these guys would be a good guy to throw in for 4 or 5. You're not going to throw that guy in and go, I'm leaning on you for 7 tonight there, buddy. No, but you lean on that guy for 4 or 5 to get you into the game. And if they've got it that night, great. You go into 6.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point. Yeah, if the stuff's not there, you do have that secondary dude, which I know some minor league teams do, where they do like a 4 and 4 for certain guys sometimes. That's a great point, Ben. And I mean, the Dodgers, it wouldn't be the worst thing to do it because you've got the ability to just call somebody up after, like you give the kind of 10-day demotion, find that phantom IL or whatever it is. But yeah, it's odd there. I mean, you'd think the Dodgers would be struggling more, but they find a way to win. Unlike Baltimore, speaking of transitions, Baltimore, Ben, just they suck this year. And Jordan Westburg going down and Gary Sanchez going down. And this is what everyone's been waiting for. Mike VA, he's excited because they have called up the prospects. Veteran Emmanuel Rivera, not a prospect, and actual prospect Maverick Henley, a 2019 6th-round pick who we were just all waiting for him to get called up, right? He's the big prospect in their system. But realistically, and I mean, Mike, to the credit of Baltimore, he has been exactly what we were talking about off the top end, a hot hand to start the year at AAA, and he gets brought up. 343 average. He's up with the big club now. He's never had power in his life. He's, I think, had more stolen bases professionally than home runs. But Gary Sanchez can't hit anything but the IL. So it's okay to have Henley come up and maybe be able to, I don't know, get 2 starts this week if you need him, or come in at some point, and you could have Adley DH. I don't know what you're going to do, but it's a weird choice. And Emmanuel Rivera has kicked around a little bit and had the odd decent streak of a stat line, but he's never been like a complete player. You're not getting fantasy stats, let alone like good baseball.
I would much rather see them give Ramon Urias all the time and not bring up more guys like this that are essentially brought up to eat into time that Urias could be taking. But that's me. Frankly, it'd be great if they thought that there is actually a third base spot open if they would bring up Kobe Mayo, but Kobe needs to actually hit in AAA first, and then we can discuss coming up to the majors.
But don't you think that this is just for Mayo, who did have a hot first weekend and just since that, don't you think this is just struggling to adjust because he's probably genuinely not cool with what happened in spring training, like how it all ended?
And unfortunately, it wouldn't surprise me if there's some team backlash because he came out publicly on that.
Exactly.
They're going to hang him down and say, you know what? Down. May 1st at the earliest for you this year, buddy. You're going to sit down there at least through the month of April, and then we'll even reevaluate then. I got to be honest, that's a very similar situation to when Ronald Acuna got sent down. But Acuna he took it. He was not happy initially, but he took it and went down and just played with his mouth shut for a couple of weeks, which we won't get into what's happened since. But he did play with his mouth shut for a couple of weeks in AAA, was kind of your consummate teammate and all those things. And he was only hitting like 200 when they called him back up, and he went ballistic that year. But they did call him back up earlier than what a lot of people thought they might, just because he went down and he handled it the right way. I don't know how Kobe Mayo has handled it at AAA. Our guy Eric Birdland would be a really good guy to get a hold of.
Oh yeah,
so much.
Yeah, that's true. Just what the journey has been like for him this year, because last year it was one of promise, right? It's only a matter of time. It's going to happen. He's forcing their hand, blah, blah, blah. And all the things they're saying now about Jordan Lawler. Right, in Arizona.
Sad. Yeah, except somebody goes out and hits 4 home runs, and then there's no open spots for him. So
and then Arizona extends one more guy. No, but there's no one left but Suarez to extend. But you know who's not going to be seeing
Eddie?
Yeah, you got it, Eddie.
Keep your head down and your mouth shut. Yeah. That's exactly right.
There is no extension coming for Cleveland Guardian former 40-man player Tristan McKenzie, who's now off. And he's back in AAA, and this is the year for a bunch of these.
A hamburger.
But yeah, McKenzie gone. It's unfortunate. There have been other guys who were on the cusp. I mean, mostly guys I just rostered in my 30-team leagues who I needed to stay, somewhat active. Jose Suarez, Tristan McKenzie, and the next guy up, Ian Anderson. But Ben, you must be excited. He is back with his MLB alma mater. Well, that's a thing, right? We're back with Atlanta. So what's he going to do? Are they going to just try to sneak him down?
Well, they just demoted Jesse Chavez and to DFA Jesse Chavez for the 4th time this year or something like that already. But Chavez is like a boomerang. He always comes back.
He's a safe guy to do. But do you think the plan is to try to find a way to get Ian Anderson to get down, like to get him through waivers
I think honestly right now they're working on, they want him to be that type of guy, what Jesse Chavez pitched. That, long relief, sit in the back of the bullpen, play with your pitches and figure out all of a sudden you've got 7 pitches and you can come in and you can throw 3 innings because you can just throw junk at them for 3 innings and then get through the lineup once and a half times. And that's all you're good for as a reliever, but at least you're eating up innings that they don't have to put on to the top end relievers. And that's really that role. And, the Braves have had really good guys in that role with Colin McHugh and Jesse Chavez in the last few years. I think that's really what Ian Anderson's major league future is at this point, unfortunately.
Well, I mean, the Angels were trying to do the back end of the bullpen with him, and he just couldn't sort it out. So hopefully back in a more familiar atmosphere, it can work out this time. But they did have to DFA him. Well, I guess they didn't. Did they DFA Anderson initially or just trade him? I know he was traded, but
they traded him because he was DFA. It
was one or the other. Yeah. So he was DFA'd. Okay, so Anderson
claimed, and then they traded him.
Yeah, so this is house money for Atlanta getting the guy back because Suarez was able to clear waivers. He's now off the 40. But yeah, Eddie's saying they're putting the band back together. Eddie Rosario was called up, and he was called up because Jared Kelenic was demoted. I mean, he wasn't playing well, Ben, but
and I mean, you do have superstar Eli White that is just going ballistic right now. So, he's got his torpedo bat, and he's scored the first run of the game for the Braves tonight. So, I mean, he's even just all over the place. But in all seriousness, I don't get this. Rosario's been given a lot of shots to rekindle whatever he could possibly have as a left-handed bench bat. I don't get it. But he's and the Braves have been using Drake Baldwin as their left-handed pinch hitter. It's not like they're all that worried about having a lefty bat up for a bench guy. That's not what they're calling up Rosario for. Eddie mentions potentially clubhouse stuff.
Yeah,
could
maybe.
Be. That could be. I mean, I know he's still got a really good relationship with Ozzy Albies. So that's very possible. And he's got a great relationship with Ronald Acuna, who's probably a couple weeks away at this point. So you're maybe setting him up to kind of ease that transition in the clubhouse. But I don't know. You got a guy like Brian De La Cruz sitting in AAA. You've got, you've got all these guys already, and you go out and you pick up Eddie Rosario after he's been released, and you say, hey, we're going to get you right up to the majors. I don't know.
It does hurt everybody at the lower level, right? Like that organizationally, that hurts the people who have bought into the system of I'm going to work hard down here and look for a bump up.
Yeah.
When, you bring Ian Anderson back in, you DFA a guy, Jesse Chavez, who's not going to get picked up, blah, blah, blah. You go through that, and then you see Rosario get pulled up too. But back to Eddie's point of just keep your head down and do your job. That's what they need to do. Atlanta needs to win and be more better, technically speaking. St. Louis looking to get more better.
Braves have won 4 straight series, so I'm just saying.
Well, they're good luck against Feltner in Colorado.
Around. Yeah. Hey, it's almost a tie game already.
It's shoot, really? Dang it.
3-2.
So St. Louis, they have demoted Thomas Segasi and brought up Jose Barrio. Do you remember?
Put your head down and just play. I mean, I don't know what else Thomas Segasi could have done more than what he's already done. But I feel bad for the guy. They say that the reason why he's getting sent down is so that he can have full-time run. But you still have Nolan Gorman, and you can send Nolan Gorman down because he doesn't deserve full-time run and play Thomas Segasi instead. But, that's just my thoughts. So
yeah, I guess maybe this is not necessarily clock manipulation, but maybe this is just to the benefit of the organization. And then for Brio, who once upon a time was supposed to be the future, you name the position with the Reds, he was going to play it. And it never came together, very much like a bunch of other guys who just couldn't lock in at the MLB level, despite the fact the defense wasn't an issue. It was just no offense whatsoever. yeah, he's up with St. Louis. We'll see if he can get on a hot streak here and start something off good. Spencer Horwitz on a rehab assignment with Pittsburgh, which is genuinely exciting, not just because I talk highly of him and obviously roster him and want good things for him, but Pittsburgh's first base situation has been bleak. The 3 or 4 dudes that have gone there have still like combined hitting below the Mendoza line at first base this year.
Why are they not trusting Matt Gorski? It just
I don't. Who's just the latest in the line to get a shot, right? Eddie Rodriguez had to get hurt to be out of there.
Yeah.
So we'll see. And I mean, Pittsburgh is weird because even like in the bullpen, right? They picked up Justin Lawrence from, of all teams, the Rockies, who he was having a terrible spring with, and then he just locked in with Pittsburgh. But he's hurt. It was elbow related, so this is sad news. And Dennis Santana, oh my God, the future ace and then future closer for the Dodgers, and then 18 teams later, he's with Pittsburgh. Dennis Santana has a lot of opportunity now. Not that he didn't before. Lawrence wasn't pushing him out, but it's more of a one-man option with Pittsburgh where he's going to get a few extra games. Hopefully he can do well with them. But yeah, Pittsburgh's a little messy. Texas tightening up a little bit. They've got Jack Leiter back. I forget what he pitched yesterday. It wasn't enough to get the win, and I can't remember exactly what happened in that game. Goodness, who was it? San Francisco they were playing. But yeah, it was a tie game late, and he's back. Good stuff. Didn't end up missing a whole lot of time. With Toronto, we've got
that's the game that Luke Jackson threw away the game. Luke Jackson came in relief in the very end, and it was a 2-2 ball game, and he threw the ball away. And,
this was the Helio Ramos inside the park.
Helio Ramos had yeah.
As soon as you said it, I'm like, threw it away. There was a
Leiter went 3 and 1/3, 2 hits, 2 runs, 4 walks, and 3 strikeouts. Not your best line, but not. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
But that's a coming back line. That's why if you're in fantasy, you're not starting a guy coming back for his first start off the IL. Yeah. But it was serviceable, really. And then Eddie's asking here, is Leiter potentially losing a spot when Cody Bradford comes back healthy?
Well, that's a good question. Does Dane Dunning lose his spot if Cody Bradford? Yeah. Because Dane Dunning got called up too. And so,
I think Dunning's first man out, and then it's a matter of what's going on that week.
Yeah.
If you have off days, if you have things of that nature going on, you got to take it easy with pitchers these days. As we all know, they're fragile. Unlike outfielders, which Toronto has 19 of, and Dalton Varsho is finally going to return. You could argue he's the best of them. Certainly defensively, he's really good, except that Miles Straw guy keeps kicking around. And Straw is shockingly empty average with the Blue Jays right now.
I was saying, but at least he's at least got one thing offensively that he's offering right now,
and that is it. Like that. But again, he's got it, so he should be back. Jays have 6 games this week. He should be back for whatever 4. They'll probably rest him, I would think, a couple times. The talk around Blue Jay Town here is that Nathan Lukes or Addison Barger are going down. Eddie's looking at Jonathan Clase, not necessarily as the guy going down, but like as a guy who's been excellent in Triple-A.
Mm-hmm.
I think Alan Rodon should be the guy going down. He's hitting 118, I think it is, or 188. Yeah, he just had a good start in the sense that everyone's like, who is this guy? Oh, I like him. But it's not a bad thing to send somebody down to Triple-A to play them.
Story, you find out that this guy is kind of doing his second favorite thing in the world. He'd much rather be crunching physics. It's like, really? Like his goal someday is to be a physics professor.
Cool.
That's cool. It's a neat story, but you still got to hit better than 200 in order to stay up, even if you have a cool story.
I mean, he should definitely have a torpedo bat for getting into physics with this guy. So, and Eddie's asking a good question here. What the heck happened to Lopafido and Orvelis Martinez? Well, Martinez, as we know, is a cheater, so his body has changed, and he's got to rework the non-juiced version of himself, which we don't know how long he was on it, how many cycles he went through, and what the outcome is going to be to that. But Toronto is not in a rush because they have Ernie Clement at the hot corner. And as we all know, name alone is enough to keep you up there. So he's got it. But Loper Fido came over, and I thought the idea initially to me, Ben, last year was when Clase was traded, when Loper Fido came in, it was like, well, will this be a changing of the guard? But they didn't do it at that time.
Yeah.
They didn't make the moves in the offseason to free it up. If anything, that with that Miles Straw Jimenez, was it the Jimenez trade? I think that was the same trade. Whatever it was, they added to a clogged outfield, and they didn't do anything in the infield where I thought it was kind of necessary as a obvious baseball fan looking at a team that, is all over my area here. And Loper Fido is kind of fading back on the depth chart, like clearly behind, the three gentlemen that I mentioned potentially getting called down in Luke Sparger and Rodon, who have all been up and were ahead of him. Now, with the plan was let Loper Fido go to AAA and hit outside in Buffalo, and we'll see what he can do. I mean, not a great idea, but I can't imagine what the plan is if they actually have one for these guys.
Yeah.
There's too many outfielders and not enough legitimate infield depth. So, like, wouldn't we think a trade? But that sounds too obvious, So, anyway, before we get to the Jesus Take the Wheel, were there any other, what is this, months behind? Any idea Dave Eisen will get a chance with the Marlins? I don't know.
Okay, again, we've made this statement a few times. They got to show something in AAA that shows that they're needing to push up to the majors. Augustin did, and now he's in the majors. Same ball club.
And a hell of a week for Augustin Ramirez.
Yeah. Davidson De Los Santos, 32 strikeouts in 104 plate appearances. That's not so great. Yes, he's hitting 290 with 356 OBP. Only 2 home runs, though, as well. He isn't hitting like you'd want him to be. Yes, he is only 22, but he has gone from a 6'1", 190-pound, like, studly-looking athletic hot corner guy to a really out-of-shape first base type, if he can even handle first base. And so he's kind of a bad body part at this point. And you strike out at that level and you're not hitting the ball with authority. And you're not, and like I said, you're pretty much a DH only. What are you going to, the only, Eddie brings it up. The only thing that he has going for him is the fact that the guy he'd be replacing is kind of doing what he's doing right now.
This is Matt Mervis we're talking about for everybody who's not watching on the YouTubes.
But at least Matt Mervis is hitting home runs when he does connect.
Yeah.
And right now, De Los Santos is hitting 290, but he's hitting 290 with 2 home runs. And for a guy who is striking out at that level, you got to be putting the ball in the seats too. And at least Mervis is still doing that.
Excellent comparable, and I apologize for bringing up the Blue Jays again, but again, within my nature here, the algorithms always prompt Blue Jay crap for me. People are thinking that Bo Bichette is having an excellent year, and he is very empty average right now. And we mentioned it before about empty average players. Miles Straw, empty average player. The Blue Jays themselves, I think, are second worst in MLB or second lowest in home runs this year. 13, I think, is the lowest with the A's. I think it's the A's, and 15 is Toronto. Whatever it is, it's low. And that's an example right there of somebody saying, well, I think like there's a stat I like. Okay, well, that's one category that you can count on for a player. So if you're thinking the floor is better, okay, cool. That doesn't necessarily mean anybody on the big league club is looking and thinking, okay, well, he can do this thing that this other guy can't. You're paying Matt Mervis league minimum. You're just going to keep him there doing the same thing. The guy at AAA is doing the same thing as the guy in MLB, and there's no need to go and rock the boat on that one. So, but anyway, this is talking about crappy teams, and I want to talk about good, fun, exciting things. So let's move on now to my Jesus Take the Wheel pick. Still yet to get a new intro for it, thanks to Copy Wrong. Okay, so last week I picked Ryan Feltner, who Ben mentioned a few moments ago is now giving up 2 runs against his lowly Braves. I think that's probably going to be it, and he's going to have shut out the rest of the way, 9 innings pitched. But we'll see how it plays out. Either way, last week's first outing was 7 innings of bliss. And then so far, we'll say so good tonight. We'll see by the time the show's over if it's still okay. But just to reiterate to everybody, because somebody asked me why I keep picking guys on nights like this and they can only get 1 start if they're lucky. I'm picking 3 starts. So this is your 2-start guy next week. And I look to try to get you a Tuesday start with him. So if you're thinking I can't pick him up already, or what's the point in trying to trade for the guy, whatever, I'm trying to set you up for next week in fantasy baseball. The bonus is that you could do what I like to do, which is pick these guys up for the first start and kind of lay the groundwork, or, put in that low fab bid if you have daily fab, or pick them up quick. And this week I'm going with the 2019 11th round pick of the Houston Astros, Ryan Gusto. 80 pitches in his last outing. And that's excellent because you combine that with the fact he threw 148 last year. He had 141 Ks last year, 3.70 ERA. Matchups in the next 3 starts, and his limited roster percentage across the board. Although Ben did say that he was very popular in the N, the F, the B, the C. But in the rest of them, I couldn't find him over 34% rostered prior to today. Because I've been at Great Wolf Lodge having an excellent time without a cell phone and fantasy baseball stuff. But I did watch some excellent baseball last night. Jordan Romano appears to be back, people. Anyway, Ramirez. Well, I was super impressed. Like, the Cubs gave the game away. Merriweather gave the game away last night. But Romano came in and looked like he did in 2021 when he was legitimately the Blue Jays star closer. Anyway, Gusto is going to go up against Detroit, and that doesn't sound ideal, but it's against Detroit in Houston on Peanuts night. Peanuts night. Now, I thought North America was anti-peanut.
Are you sure it's not Charles Schultz like Charlie Brown peanuts?
So that's the only acceptable thing. But when I looked into it further, I couldn't find anything. And then I realized I didn't care because I wrote this next part here for everybody. I thought North America was anti-peanut because of all the GMO foods causing allergies. Anywho, Detroit as a team has 27 home runs. You heard me mention home runs earlier. The league average is 29. So they're below league average. The Detroit is also 29th in stolen bases. They only have 11. The Cubs, who, again, as I mentioned, I got to watch last night, they're the league leaders with 44. They're dangerous on the base paths. What I'm saying is Detroit, not dangerous. And Detroit also has the 7th most Ks. The shining light for Detroit outside of the record, which any of you that are looking are like, well, their record is really good. No, not interested in that. Let's talk about the stats that Gusto needs to work with here. They can get on base, 329 OBP, which is their big thing. So he just needs to hit the strike zone, which in his last start, he only threw 47 strikes. But for a team that Ks a lot, that could be really good. But I want to see a few more ground balls, Ben. I want to see an extra inning out of Gusto. I think they'd comfortably push him above 80, and I don't know that they're going to let him go through the order a third time. He's only faced, I think, up to 23 batters. But they would if he's getting outs. So we'll see what they can do. Following tomorrow's start, next Monday, he's going to be playing at Milwaukee. They also do not have a lot of home runs. Their average and their walks are not ideal. So they are another good target. And then the hard one here, because like I said, this is a 3-game pick. They're going to play at home against Cincinnati, and everything for Cincinnati looks solid. Now, they had a 24-run game recently. That has bulked all those things up. But across the board, they're looking good. And they do have Noelvi Marte, newer to the lineup, who's also hitting very well. And they're in a blessed position of being able to play hot hands. And you can even look at, is it Blake Dunn? Yeah, who doesn't necessarily look effective, but he's baseball effective, just not fantasy effective, if that makes sense to anybody out there. So, I'm liking the Gusto pickup here. I think, I picked him up a week ago, as I mentioned, so I've already been enjoying a little bit of it. And I think we should, count that as something fun to happen. He's going to perform, Ben, just like our actual topic for tonight, minor league hitters who are performing right now. So
should we take a break?
Yeah, for sure. We did AAA last week. We're going to do Double-A this week, but we're going to take a break before we do that.
All right.
game's dragging on. There's strikes on the batter, some runners are on. Then suddenly everyone's looking at me. My mind has been wondering, what could it be? They point to the sky and I look up above, and a baseball falls into my glove. I play right field. It's important you know. You gotta know how to catch. You gotta know how to throw. That's why I play in right field, way out where the dandelions grow.
As a proud sponsor of Little League Baseball, Pizza Hut welcomes all the kids who make it great.
Making it great.
Ben, can you tell me who the catcher in that Pizza Hut commercial is? I don't need his actual name.
I don't know actually.
It's Goldberg from the
is it
Mighty
Goldberg?
Ducks, the greatest movie trilogy ever. Oh my God.
I was listening to him, and this is going to make me sound like a geek, but I listened to a Boy Meets World recap podcast. Yeah. I know. It's funny though. I mean, it's
all right.
Funny. It's funny to listen to.
I know the podcast you're talking about, so we're in the same company here.
Yeah, but one of the folks that they had on recently actually was Goldberg, because he was on a few episodes.
He's had a story. Oh my goodness, child actor.
And had a heck of a life, really. I mean, he was in a lot of stuff. I mean, did a lot of commercials, and then suddenly he hit it big out of nowhere with Mighty Ducks, and then was in heavyweights and like a whole bunch of stuff, like bang, 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 bang. And then
busy child actor.
That kind of led him into a not so good situation in life. But he talks openly about it. So.
I feel like during COVID, he was kind of rediscovered as like, oh my goodness, have you seen this guy? You know, drugs inflicted, blah, 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 blah. And he's luckily for him righted the ship and had people around him to support and do that, which is awesome. And all thanks to Pizza Hut, really.
Just want to give you a update.
Is this a Feltner update?
It is now 3-3. The Braves scored 1 run, but
they did bottom of the ninth.
They did no top of the fourth. they did leave the bases loaded, so he worked out of a jam.
There we go.
It would have been
that
worse.
might up the pitch count. Might up the pitch count. Anyway, okay. So Ben, we're going to go through some Double-A and lower top performers. We'll see how quickly we can do this. But what we're trying to let everybody know here with this one is there are guys that are rostered everywhere, and amongst this list are also guys that are not highly thought of. They're not all our second guy up, Travis Bazzana. They are not all him. There are other guys that you can go and start to look at, lock in, figure out, is this somebody I want to look to acquire? Is this somebody I'm putting on the watch list? Depending on your leagues, or just if you love going and watching baseball, when is this guy going to be in my town? So we're starting off with the Eastern League. That's Double-A baseball. So as I mentioned, we've got Cleveland's organization in here. Ben, do you want to kick us off here?
Yeah, one of the guys who's been hitting as well as anybody in the minor leagues, and that's CJ Kayfus. And the profile is a guy who's going to hit you a ton of doubles. Actually is one of the minor league leaders in triples this year. But that just kind of further points out he's a really good gap power type of guy, but he's hit over 400 all year long so far. I don't know what his future is as a first baseman in the major league level. They're getting him some outfield time just to kind of get that bat up, because I think he's got a legit bat that could play. But the issue is, where do you play him right now? Because you decided to spend money on Carlos Santana. You have Kyle Manzardo, there are some pretty solid first base prospects behind him in the system too. Guys like Ralphie Velazquez that you've invested some money in and things like that. So I don't know that he's going to be a guy that is a stud power hitter first baseman, but I mean, like a Sean Casey type, that wouldn't be so bad.
Just
But,
to add, so that Uncle Ted doesn't say he's not hitting 400 anymore. As of the time the notes were written, he was well over 400. He didn't have the most bestest weekend. He's 364 now. Okay, Ted. So just chill out. All right, we are all in this together. I know you're thinking it. So, but yeah, either way, he's been amazing, and he's what 22, 23 right now, I think.
So yeah, right.
So he's at the point where he should be getting a bump up if it happens. And as we've seen, Will Wilson getting the call with Cleveland, maybe there would be opportunity when it came up. And if they start to move him around, we all like to get excited and think of what could be, right? Super utility is the best position in baseball.
and if he's able to do first base, corner, outfield, that's a useful spot to have if he's a hitter.
Yeah.
And
he's saying a bunch of guys that were good. John Allrood was pretty good. Yeah, John Allrood. I remember when he was flirting with 400 back in 93, I think.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, he was good. But anyway, Travis Bazzana, I'm going to double check here just to make sure I
think that he had a rough weekend. If I remember right, when I was
states on the Travis Bazzana stats, but prior to, he was doing perfectly fine in Double-A. And let me very quickly rhyme off the line here. So Bazzana is now 240, 360, 373. So the average I think that was pretty well where we were. Yeah, the average dropped down a few points here, but he's got 1 home run, 12 RBIs, 3 stolen bases, 12 walks, 24 stolen bases, and that's in 75 at bats. So the K rate is too high. The walk rate is fine, but 2-1 strikeouts to walk with a high K rate, that's spelling trouble. But regardless, early in the season for Bazzana, adjusting to pro ball, whatever you want to say. So, but everybody knows about him. Everybody just wants to see how quickly he can get pushed up. There is, of course, because this is a Michigan-friendly podcast, there is a Detroit update. We did talk, or I should say myself, Robbie Rockies, I'm going to call that now. We're going to go with, we'll see how that works out. I spoke in a somewhat neutral manner about Detroit. So just to make sure I'm on the next podcast and Govia doesn't boot me, we'll talk about Max Anderson, the 2023 second round pick of Detroit. There you go. Go Tigers, who's currently batting 333, 383 OBP, and a slug of 587. I got to be honest, Max Anderson, no one talks about. And he's just quietly been good. And he's 23, playing in Erie, which has not been warm so far for the year. One of our nicer days in the area, that area of North America today. And tomorrow might be an actual hot day, but 4 home runs. He's been productive with 20 RBIs, which I thought was leading the league or was very close to it when I last checked. Anderson, excellent. So I think he could be a guy up for promotion to AAA. I don't know that we'll see him in the show, but
I think this year. Yeah, I was gonna say, I think you might see him get moved up just to open up spots for some guys that are in high A for them, because they have a pretty loaded high A lineup, but I think they want to move them all together. And he might be the guy that moves up when they bring up the Max Clarks and Kevin McGonigals and Jose Basueno and all those guys that they've got in Western Michigan right now. So
yeah, that's fair. And just Kefas, I got to go back to it one more time. He is still leading the Eastern League in average. So everybody must have been cold over the weekend here. We do have a Boston player alert, which I don't want to get excited about because it's Boston, right? Nobody
you just
cares.
don't want to pronounce his name.
I don't.
It's the
There's
password.
so many.
That is
none
nickname.
of it. Oh, okay.
That is his nickname. Is the password.
Okay,
Justinson
so it is
Garcia. I think.
What? How did you say it?
I think it's Justinson Garcia.
Justinson. Fair. Okay.
Justinson Garcia.
Yeah, and he's been very good.
Yes,
for Portland, center field prospect here. Just what Boston needs, another good player. 22-year-old on the year, batting 321, 439, 453. He's got 1 ding-a-dong, 2 stolen bases. It's frustrating, I got to be honest. Even as a,
You're not going to
not a
like
Blue
this
Jay
list then, because
No, there's a lot.
As we keep
Yeah,
going down, there's a lot of Boston on this list.
yeah, there is.
that
It's
have
just the
kinda-
rich getting richer, right? They're like
Yeah.
the Dodgers, but with fielders. Although with the Dodgers, we're seeing right now as many pitchers as they have produced recently. I don't know if we're desperate to be rostering one.
Yeah. Yep.
So, because a lot of them are hurt. Now, I know everyone's thinking, Robbie, give me some Rockies, right? I want some Rockies. Okay, I'm with you guys. So we've got third baseman. Yeah, that's right. Let's go to Coors. We got Kyle Karros, who we did talk a bunch about in the offseason, in 65 at bats, 338 average, 978 OPS. Why didn't I say OBP? Oh, okay, 456. I said it. 2 home runs, 3 stolen bases. Perfectly fine season. And then Dylan Hjorg, I'm sure I said that right. 326. I guess this is probably is this updated? Do you know, Ben?
No,
or was this
this
previous
is one that you had on there. So
okay. So we were hoping to talk about these guys a week ago, but we cared too much about AAAers to do it. So I'm going to have to figure out what exactly his line is. But let's go back in time a week ago. Dylan York, 326 average, 408 OBP, 12 RBIs, 2 stolen bases, 1 home run.
So why do you go into the Garth voice when you go? It's like
because they do
you gotta use Garth. I know, but you like go into Garth's voice when you go back in time and do that.
I don't. I like to play.
You start dancing to Foxy Lady, we got a problem.
Oh my God. Yeah, maybe later upstairs with the wife, but we'll see how the rest of the night goes.
Hey, PG.
Anyway, is there anyone else in the Eastern League that we wanted to mention, or are we good to move on over to the Southern League?
If we want to get through at least even Doubl-A, we better move on.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, stolen base leader in Doubl-A is Mitch Jebb. That's all you guys need to know for the Eastern League. So on to the Southern League. Ben, hit us off with a Cubby.
A Cubby, Pedro Ramirez, who interestingly is not one of the shortstop international guys that have been highly discussed because they got a whole bunch of money and all that. No, he's just decided to come out and quietly hit extremely well at Doubl-A this year, which I will say Tennessee is a pretty decent hitting environment, but the Southern League in general is not. So to put up a line like he has so far, this is one I think you had on there, so I don't know if the stat line is purely updated, but a week ago he was hitting 352, 410, 854, and had 4 stolen bases. So that's a really nice line for a guy who's also stealing bases to slug 854.
Yeah. And like you said, quietly doing it. Like Ramirez is not, I can't remember what his roster percentage was. I was just going to look on Fantrax, but I'm not going to look on Fantrax to see, but it was single digits when I looked. Still no power to him, but across 1,280 at bats, he only has 17 in pro baseball, and his average is technically down for the year. So he's always had solid average, but he's played lower level baseball for a long time, and this is his first taste of Doubl-A. And I mean,
but still only
so
21.
far so good. Yeah. Sorry. So he's
that's
still a young guy.
Kind of some of that. I think there's that issue with international guys that a lot of times they hang out in the low levels for a few years, and suddenly folks are like, oh, well, apparently he's not a prospect because he's not getting the Doubl-A promotion. Well, they're 19.
They hadn't finished high school when they were signed. They then, could have that potential time, kind of college time. They didn't do the circuit. They weren't on the Under Armour circuit. They weren't doing the prospect
Perfect
nations.
Thank
you. Perfect Game was the one I was thinking of. They haven't been pushed through all that stuff. Some of the guys are just, learning at the pro level as they go. So he's been a fun one. Cincinnati. Oh, I wanted to say this a week ago. I hope it's still true. Austin Hendrick. Remember 2020, everybody? Yeah. Remember how excited everybody was about Austin Hendrick? We all walked away. We did. We can admit it. Anyway, he's back doing all right. 286, 366, 852, 2 home runs, couple stolen bases, 7 RBIs. I'm interested in the 2-to-1 strikeout to walk was solid for Cincinnati to have one good outfielder, but they don't just have one, Ben. They have two. I'm going to see if the home run total went up at all for him. No, it doesn't look like it did.
No,
Hector Rodriguez.
Hector's one I put on today. So that.
Oh, was he? Okay, thank you.
Those are all active stats. And he's
Perfect.
a guy who was a kind of a big money guy when he first got signed, but he's the one who hit the lower levels and just didn't really advance right away. And now he made his way up to Double-A, and I didn't put it on here. I think he's 22 or 23.
I'll tell you in a second.
A very
21.
solid year so far. So
yeah, I mean, a lefty bat, 5'10", 200 pounds, not ideal, but totally fine. 386 average. Holy smokes.
Yeah, and in the Southern League, like I said, this is not a great hitters league, and yet he's still doing that. So you got to enjoy that.
Absolutely. Miami, not to be outdone with second-round picks in 2023. Kemp Alderman. I mean, sure. Sounds like he doesn't play baseball, but he does.
Like he should be on a city commission.
yeah, he does have a name of a name of a position in Alderman, but he's got a 290 average in 69 at bats. He's got a triple, which why would I mention that? Well, because he also has 3 doubles and 4 home runs. Homeboy gets bases, 14 RBIs to go along with 8 walks, 16 Ks, 7 stolen bases. So he's doing all the things.
Yeah. I'll give a quick a shout out to our friend and former guest Jeff Ponce with Baseball America, who made a comment in one of their preseason things that this is the guy who is going to jump on that system into our national consciousness. That he is he's that kind of a hitter, and he's going to go to the upper levels, which he, at that time he didn't know. Here he is in Double-A, and he is going to just hit baseballs, and he is going to make everyone go, "Oh, who's that?" So far, so good, and credit to Jeff on that early season prediction. So,
yeah, looking good. I'm currently just checking to see if my claim of him in one league where you can still pick up prospects in season went through, and it says it failed because I didn't have room. So I just got to make sure I'm so whoever it was that I intended to cut something happened. They couldn't be cut. Anywho, Alderman will be mine. As should Cooper Kinney, the 22-year-old batting 353, 405, 676. This is Tampa Bay second baseman. I feel like we talked about him as like a perfectly fine guy, but I don't know that we really described a big ceiling for Kinney. Is my memory correct on that, Ben?
Yeah. One of those like very high floor, very mediocre ceiling type of guys. It's just kind of one of those guys that you figure he'll come up. Tampa Bay is going to use him right, and he's going to end up with a 280 average and a 350 on base, and probably not a whole lot of other stuff fantasy wise. But he's going to be a very good real life player. And, if he's hitting 353, he's going to be more than just an okay real life player. He's going to be a really valuable fantasy player. So. Yeah,
they'll find room. They'll find, just like I am on my one league here for Alderman. So I'm going to cut Easton Lucas. I'll get that done. He'll be on the roster tomorrow morning. Alderman will be in. I like that. I casually thought I picked him up in a league. And then very quickly, mid-podcast, it didn't go through. Anyway, Atlanta. Oh, geez, I'm not even going to bother. Ben, go ahead.
Okay. David McCabe, the only reason I'm bringing this up, he was a fairly high draft pick, like 4th round when he was picked. Went through Tommy John. And so really he showed well in his draft year and then went through Tommy John. So he's kind of had a year and plus where it wasn't so good. His elbow is healthy. He's been playing some third base. And he's got one of the highest walk rates in the minors, a 23.6% walk rate one of the highest walk rates in Double-A. That is 278, 444, 426. Not so far. Don't know if it's just a matter of he's not 100% with the elbow yet. It's his lead elbow in his swing. And so not sure he's a lefty swinger, righty thrower. So Not sure. He just doesn't seem to be finishing the swing right to get the type of power that you would like that last bit of snap that you need in the swing.
Yeah.
Is not quite there.
Is he being like, are the pitchers that are throwing to him, are they all the Atlanta Brave MLB pitchers? Is that why he's doing so well?
Funny. He's a funny guy here. So, no,
sorry, but have to take every single opportunity I possibly can, Ben.
But in all reality, this is, a lefty hitter who can play corner infield spots. He was a solid third base defender before his elbow went out. So chance that he could be a type of a guy that could be a third base, first base. He is 25 already, though, because of the injury. Right. And he was a college guy when he got drafted. So it wouldn't surprise me if he does move very soon here. But I don't know. There's not a whole lot of playing time when you have Austin Riley and Matt Olson at third base and first base for the Braves. So it's kind of going to require an injury, and no one wants to cheer for those.
This could be potentially can you do second base left field for now? And then if there's an injury, I mean, we know they're locked in with Eddie Rosario, but outside of that, maybe McCabe could be one of those guys we never heard of, so to speak, until all of a sudden they started to shoot up the system within that year.
This is the other thought is, this is I'm not going to say he's anywhere near the same value, but his best value to the team might be in a Vaughn Grissom role where he is used as trade bait to bring someone else back in. But yeah. So, you're going to be sad now.
Oh, am I? Because we're talking about a White Sox?
No.
Oh no, this is a Feltner update.
Yeah.
Oh no. Oh, well, let me tell everybody about let's finish off before we get to the Texas League. You can disappoint me. But the White Sox, they got a guy, William Bergolla.
Love him.
The next Chase Meadroth? Really?
Yeah.
Okay, 20 years old. 313 average, 389 OBP, 764 OBP, no ding-a-dongs, and professionally, no power. But he can steal a base. He's got 11 this year, 42 in the pro career for him, 7 walks to 9 Ks. I mean, that's a smart player right now. Yeah. 20 years old at Double-A. Hell, take that.
Yeah, he's always been a guy that I love because I think he has had a 370 plus OBP at every single level of his minor league journey, even when he hasn't hit great. The guy can get on base, and he plays a solid defense up the middle, usually more second base than short. But yeah, just kind of with that Chase Meadroth profile, in that Meadroth was kind of expected to be average and not a whole lot else. And I think this is kind of your on base and not a whole lot else profile. But if he can play middle infield and do that, that can be pretty valuable. So,
yeah. And shooting star prospect, I think we could say. Cooper Pratt, 6th round pick in 23 of Milwaukee, is the final gentleman of note with the Southern League. 3 home runs, 10 RBIs, 5 stolen bases, 266 average, which is not incredible. 337 OBP, totally fine. 767 OPS, totally fine. But he's 20 years old at Double-A also.
Yeah.
So succeeding.
Showing some power, showing some speed, not striking out crazy. That's what I was most impressed by. 9 strikeouts on the year so far, and I guess I didn't put down how many plate appearances, but 70-ish.
Oh, shoot. I was just looking at him on the other end. Let me find him again. But he has 79 at-bats, so he has a lot of at-bats.
So, yeah.
For a sub 10%
80 at-bats, 9 strikeouts. I'll take that all day long. That's
just over 10%. Yeah.
Rate. For a 20-year-old.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially for that age. That's success. So, okay, Ben, lay it on me. Give me the bad news, and then let's go to Texas.
So Michael Harris just doubled in 2 runs, and Feltner is now out of the game. It is 5-3 Braves.
Son of a bee sting. And is this in the bottom of the 9th?
The top of the 5th.
Yarr! There's still time for him to not take the loss. Anyway, that's what happens with the Jesus Take the Wheel pick, people. We had that one good start. We might have another. Let's not give up.
The Mets screwed me on a win for Tyler McGill yesterday. So, I mean, these things can happen. So
yeah, So I'll be super brief on this because I mentioned Romano earlier. In a points league of mine, last night it came down to the Sunday night game, which I always love. And unfortunately, I was playing an 0-for-4 team, and we were close because I just didn't have enough starts last week to really pile up any points. So it was a 4-point difference when the final game started. He had Trey Turner, so I had Julian Merriweather, and I'm like, this probably isn't going to go too well for me. So, of course, they go into extras. Merriweather gets in. I'm like, okay, we got a chance to maybe, get a save, walk into a win. We'll see what can happen here. So it was walk into a win was what I was hoping. He ended up, because of the runner on second, guy scored. I think he loaded the bases, walked a bunch of dudes. Trey Turner ended up, Turner got a run, a hit or something like that. Merriweather gets pulled. Now, who did I not put in place in my bullpen? I did not put Jordan Romano in because he's been horrible since the second outing of the year. So Romano comes in the bottom of the 10th, and just the cleanest inning you can imagine. Just he looked so good. Ended up getting the save. I think he had 9 points, and Merriweather had -4 or something. And then I ended up losing by that difference of not putting in Romano and putting in Merriweather. But hey, it was the right play at the time. It just hurt. Yeah. What we do need is good news, and that's why heading to the Texas League is a great spot here. Oh. And I recently learned the Texas League is not just players that play for Texas.
Yeah, is that crazy? And
Texas player. We'll go to KC.
Yeah,
KC's guy. I can't remember where he was drafted or if he's a prospect at all. It's I believe it's Jas Seglioni. I think that is correct.
Jesus, dude.
Jack Caglione, guys.
Yeah.
He's good. 4 home runs, 258 average, 329 OBP.
He's streaky.
813. Yeah, because he started hot, right?
He started really hot. He had a really bad 2 weeks, and now I think he had a pretty solid week of contact this last week.
Well, he had to play against, and I think I'm right in this. Is he the one who played against Kershaw in rehab, or was that Kurtz? One of the guys in the last week played against Kershaw, and I'm thinking maybe it was Jack and hit a home run off him.
It could have been there.
Somebody could tell us.
Yeah. But the next guy we have listed on here is now no longer in Double-A. Peyton Wilson, 25-year-old second baseman, has been just crushing as a teammate of Caglione. And he got the call up to Triple-A today. So he's heading on to Omaha.
Which they need. Anybody hitting with KC at Double-A, Triple-A should all just be making sure their cell phone plans are up to date for travel. Because especially if you're a power hitter, they are the worst in Major League Baseball in home runs, I think.
Yeah.
I think I said the A's earlier, but I believe it is, in fact, Kansas City. And we saw... who was it that I mentioned? Oh, it was Colorado that went there last week and hit a bunch of bombs. They showed KC how to do it. It's like, you can come to our barn and hit them, no problem. We'll go to yours. And yeah, they were hitting well. So, but Peyton Wilson getting a promotion here, not a young man. So this is a fun move. And Michael Massey not getting it done for KC at 2B. No. And if India is the 2B DH,
and he's not hitting. He's getting on base still, but he's not hitting at all. It's like sub 200 for him hitting. It's just he's getting on base at a 350 pop or so, and so they're still putting up with that. But yeah, there's certainly an open spot in that infield if you can produce.
Yeah, unless they do the silly thing of making a trade. If you trade your major leaguer to clear up a spot, that's what we want. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so Texas, like I mentioned, does play in this league.
This is a guy you mentioned last week too.
Yes, definitely. So I will double check. Josh Hatcher is the guy that I wanted to mention. Let me just make sure we still have it here. Hatcher. I'm trying to look at the top of the leaderboards, and look, there he is. In 72 at bats, the 26-year-old, yep, I'm aware. That's old for Double-A, has 25 hits, 12 runs, 4 home runs, 19 RBIs, a stolen base, 347 average, which, hey, maybe he should be promoted, right? Yeah, I agree. 355 OBP. Okay, I get it. He doesn't walk. And a 938 OPS. Fun. He was a 10th round pick in 22. So he's not technically far behind in a development point, but he is because of his age. So I think we could see him move up later this year, perhaps. That would be okay. Something to that degree. He is the only Texas prospect of note at this level. I'm pretty. Oh no, sorry. This just in. There is another guy. His name is Sebastian Walcott, the 19-year-old, 74 at bats, also 16 runs, 20 hits, 2 home runs, 12 RBIs, 5 stolen bases. But his average is a measly 270. Did I mention he was 19? He's 7 years younger than Hatcher. 409 OBP and an 841 OPS. Holy smokes. That's awesome. That's awesome. Youngest guy we've mentioned.
Yeah. And he's tearing it up. And it's fun. There's a lot of people who before the season said, the top 10 was a whole lot of guys who should graduate this year as far in top 100 lists. And so the question was always, who's the next guy? Who's the next number one? And Sebastian Walcott was a very, very popular answer. And he's certainly showing that he deserves that sort of attention. So.
Yeah, he has been. And I mean, he's an international guy that was a highly thought of at that point. You want your highly drafted guys to do it. It's nice to see Walcott so far so good here. Also, I highly thought after a potential number one last year didn't happen, but he ended up with St. Louis, JJ Weatherholt, the 7th overall pick in 24, 333, 431, 910. 1 home run, which of course we always want more. 1 stolen base, which of course we always want more, but only 48 at bats. So way fewer at bats than the Texas boys. Sorry, I was just going to say the Texas League boys, but as I mentioned, it's not just Texas teams that play in the Texas League. And is this your note here, Ben? Still kicking around? And Moises Gomez.
Mainly because
and Jordan Groshans,
Yeah, they still have, I think both of them had something like a 150 or better WRC plus when I looked it up. And I went, holy cow, those guys are still hitting. And I think Gomez might be like
4 home runs,
27, and Groshans
here, I'll tell
like 26.
Yeah. Because it's not like they're old, like for the level, sure, but also they're prospect old.
Yeah, they're failed prospects. We've known about them forever, sort of guys, and I mean,
Gomez has 4 home runs, 3 stolen bases.
Yeah,
Groshans was the weird thing where it was Groshans and oh my goodness, who was the pitcher that they took in the second round? I think Groshans was first round. They took the pitcher second. What was the name? Sorry,
Hagen Danner. Isn't that?
No, Danner was a different. It was somebody with like a bunch of letters, a long name. And
yep. I know who you're talking about.
But the deal was they were going to get Groshans under slot to get this guy over slot, and neither of them worked out. So it's unfortunate. But so I don't know, Ben. Is that that's an hour 13? I think we can hit up some lower on another night.
Hit the A-ball guys tomorrow or next Monday, and
maybe we'll cut the news in half. Maybe we'll give ourselves at most 10 minutes of news and nonsense, and then we'll get right into A-ball, and then we can start talking about some AAA pitchers too. We can maybe double that one up. We'll go high pitchers and the low hitters.
I mean, there's a lot of fun guys to talk about in the pitching realm. I keep saying, "Oh crap! I can't go in. I can't do that. I can't talk about a pitcher when there was a number of guys I wanted to put onto these lists because their numbers are popping. But like we talked about, that's what we want. Is we want to wait on and give them some time to put up stats that are more.
All the ones that you've got here, Ben. This is all up to date stuff, right? All the A guys. So why don't we just rhyme it off? Let's just clear the deck. That way next week we can get to pitching. Let's just you say the names, I'll write it down for the timestamp. The people want the names. Are you guys ready? Listeners, are you ready for the Midwest League, the high A names to look at? Do it. All
right. Midwest League, Detroit, got 2 of them on here. 24-year-old Seth Stevenson hitting 310, 443, 479. Top prospect, 20-year-old Max Clark, 292 with a 478 on base and a 400 slug. Boy, pronouncing this one. The Cubs, Ivan Breathauer, 22-year-old.
That's fine.
309 average, 486 on base, and a 436. Just one of these, quick note, we're at the A-ball level. A-ball level, you're going to see some nuts on bases because A-ball pitchers
can't hit the zone.
Yeah. Billy Amick,
that's the nice way to say it.
Billy Amick, one of my favorite guys from the draft last year. The Twins, 22-year-old, 338, 478, 441 so far. Zaire Hope, everyone's favorite up-and-coming prospect.
Another potential number 1 prospect.
There we go. 310, 383, 560. So he started out very well. Leo Balcazar is a guy who I've been a big fan of, lots of injury issues, so he's still only 21. 269, 367, 433. He's in the red system. Just kind of keep an eye on that because I think as he gets healthier, he's always been a really good on-base guy that can kind of fill up a stat sheet. Northwest League. So new league.
New league alert. New league alert.
All right. Angels, Ryan Nicholson somehow got through their quick promotion window. He's 24, hitting 377 with a 506 on base and a 667 slugging. Those are some numbers, folks. Arizona, we've talked about how that team is a really impressive overall lineup. Ryan Waldschmidt, their first rounder last year, hitting 318, 483, 561. And then a 20-year-old who's, might have a little bit of prospect fatigue on him, Christopher Torin. We've talked about him for a while, it seems like, but 270, 407, 311, really getting on base well here. This is my guy who kind of comes in the Jared Beck stuff with Colorado. Jared Thomas is the guy last year I thought in the draft had a very similar to Jordan Beck kind of profile. And they drafted him and he has done nothing but hit so far this year. 366, 480, 561. So hopefully he has continues to have that success as he moves up the ranks. Seattle's stud hitters, Lazaro Montes, 20 years old, 250, 396, 592. Batting average not been so great. Everything else has been. Colt Emerson, 19-year-old. He was the first-round pick for them. Hitting 274 is all, but a 384 on base, 370, playing really good defense. Arjun Namala of the Toronto Blue Jays, who everyone basically wrote off when he started off rough last year. He is 19 and is hitting 289, 349, 539 for Toronto in the high A level. And you have a note? Like
5 home runs, Ben. Yeah. Yes. Hard hitter, 5 home runs. And he's played in Vancouver, which for anyone who knows, that environment is a very welcoming environment for future Blue Jays. They like to put players of note there. It used to be short season ball for them. Now it's full season. And Nimala has been touted as like, holy crap, he smacks the ball. So I haven't seen actual statistics on this, but having seen a scouting report for him from this year, and apparently he hit an absolute laser beam in game. I think it was his first home run of the year. And the reports are like, holy crap. Everybody that kind of blew him off, as you mentioned, they're going to be having to crawl him back in and onto their list and things like that. Not just a hot start, but apparently a very focused, very determined looking player now. This is the guy they drafted.
That's been the really impressive part, is he is controlling the zone fairly well. I won't say he hasn't struck out some, but he's not swinging at bad balls. That was a big issue last year. You knew there was going to be some swing and miss. He was swinging at crap.
18 strikeouts, 76 at bats, 7 walks. So that's, again,
for a 19-year-old
player, right?
Yeah,
19-year-old
I'll take that. Yeah. Okay, now new league alert. South Atlantic.
New league alert.
And we're going to start off with a geezer, 25-year-old Noah Myers, the Tampa Bay system, but he's hitting 419, 544, 674. So you got to at least mention him. I don't know, and honestly don't know anything about Noah Myers, so I cannot tell you if he's
I'll wrap the show with some Myers information.
Okay. Yankees, because of course we all love Yankees prospects. George Lombard Jr., 20 years old, hitting 306, 494 on base, 452. Chris Suero.
Noah Myers is Canadian. So
there you go.
Obviously he's awesome. Please continue. More notes to follow.
Chris Suero, who is one of those guys who can actually play catcher and other positions, which makes him nice and flexible, and folks enjoy such people. 250, 373, 625, but he's also striking out 35.8% of the time. That's not so great. Phillies, Carson DiMartini, guy I really enjoyed in the draft last year. 308, 444, 415, kind of right along the lines of what I expected. Again, we're going to have another Boston guy because, of course, Boston has, guys that just produce, it seems. Marvin Alcantara, 20-year-old, 356, 433, 390. All right, are we ready for Lowe?
New league alert. New level alert. California League.
All right, Arizona, Slade Caldwell, high school pick from last year, 19 years old, 310, 524 on base, and a 517 on slugging. He's just he's ahead of the league. He needs to be moved up, and really impressive. Guy who's by age ahead of the league. The Dodgers acquired him for Gavin Lux, Mike Sirota.
Oh, there. Okay, I was just gonna say, wasn't that Cincinnati? Yeah, right.
Yeah, and he was very good ball player, but was at a D3 school, and maybe that's part of why they sent him to single A to start out. Well, he's certainly showing that he might need a promotion. 368, 455, 649, and playing a very good center field too, I might add. Seattle, one of my favorite prospects in their system is 19-year-old Felton Celestin, 343, 421, 463, certainly showing he's capable at that level. And of course, here's our old guy at the level, Ryan Jackson of San Diego, 23 at A-ball, but 319 and a 510 on base and a 472 slugging.
Ben, pre-new league question or thoughts queried from Frank. Kurtz in his league went for $711 of fab, and he got Augustin for $384. I'll tell you right now, Frank, that is way too much for a catcher. In a 2-catcher league, that is risky as shit because it's a 2-catcher league and he could get demoted. He's not up and in and locked and loaded here. He is up for now, but 711. So whoever has him must have just been screwed. And like
at first base. Oh,
yeah.
Well, and the only thing I can think of is, I have a couple. I have my TGFBI league right now. I'm having to start Luis Arias and hope that he comes back from his concussion this week, early in the week. But if you build a team with a first base like that, you build a team intentionally with a first base like that, and you have things in other places. So, man, having to spend that kind of money on Nick Kurtz makes me think that you really missed something in the draft and thought that you found somebody. Maybe this is the Tristan Casas owner. I don't know.
Well, I was going to say, I can't think of the guy that would have been your big disappointment that you punt on it. But I guess, Casas is the one.
Well, but even that much, though. I mean,
right. Yeah.
Casas is like was a tier 2 first baseman in draft season. So.
I would assume, though, that whoever it was that spent that money is locked in on pitching and obviously healthy on the pitching side.
You
And
would
they're
hope
like,
so.
I've got money right now burning a hole in my pocket, or whoever this is, has made some astute $5 and under pickups. Because sometimes you can get a guy for $2, right? Everybody goes $1, you go 2, you get the guy, whatever. If whoever it is has done that and it's like, I can beat this league, but this is my guy, sure. I hope he owns the jersey. But the Augustin one also, I think that's, like I said, 2 catcher league. I think that's a lot of money. But I mean, regardless. Okay. New league alert. Florida State League, Ben.
And one of the fun leagues, because the Florida State League is part of Prospect Savant. So you can look at hard hit rates, and you can look at things like that from the Florida State League. One of the few leagues that you can, and certainly the only A-ball league you can, which is really fun. Philadelphia has a guy, Aroon, Aroon, Escobar, 20 years old, 369, 481, 631. That's a fun stat line. Mets AJ Ewing, I believe he might be even a first baseman, but AJ Ewing, 20-year-old, hitting 400 with a 506 on base and a 615 slugging. Carlos Sanchez is for the Reds, 20 years old, 367.
Yeah, baby.
500 on base and a 533 slugging.
This is a J2 guy putting along here. And then on the other end, we've got last year's highest drafted high schooler. Is that right? And Connor Griffin?
Yep. Yeah. Connor Griffin, who lots of folks wanted to crap on in spring training because the Pirates gave him some chances with the Major League Club. He didn't look great. Duh. I mean, you're a high schooler with the Major League group. If he did look good, that would have been more impressive. But he looked like a high schooler playing with major leaguers. And then he's just gone down and basically put up, I think at one point he had 6 of the top 8 hard hit balls in the Florida State League. It's not that much anymore, but he's hitting the crap out of the ball. 270, 345, 514. But he's absolutely showing the raw talent that you want to see out of a early draft pick for sure.
And quite frankly, Pittsburgh could use a high school pick. I know high round or not, say a top 3 round high school pick to work out for them.
Oh, yeah.
They've been, I mean, Skeens was the whatever, but different beast altogether. But they could use this. This would be a nice thing for an organization that needs it. So, but anyway, Ben, let's finish Let's finish great and go out to Carolina.
The Carolina League. We're going to go to Cleveland's Bennett Thompson, 22 years old, 367, 516, 510. The White Sox actually have a very fun lineup at this level.
Sprinkle,
not the
love
funnest
it.
lineup, but Jordan Sprinkle, which by the way, great name, 24 years old, hitting 420, 547, 460. I thought I read somewhere where he already got bumped up, but maybe not, but certainly is hitting like he deserves to be. And at 24, probably going soon. Caleb Bottomer, really, really good high school pick from last year. I think 2nd or 3rd round for the White Sox, 313, 446, 516. And then Braden Montgomery oddly started at this level, but is showing he's ready for a promotion. College draftee from last year, 304, 393, 493. Milwaukee, we'd be here all night if I talked about the guys in their lineup hitting well, but your Luis Pena, your Jesus Mate, Josh Adamczewski, they have a whole lineup of guys that are just crushing the baseball. So if you want to do yourself well, look at the Carolina Mudcats lineup.
Even catcher Carlos Dinges.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It sounds fun. It's Dinges. I'm sure it's not Dinges, but I mean, it's Dinges. He's only got one Dinga, but that's good. I love this.
Speaking of catchers,
10 walks, 6 strikeouts for Dinges. Yeah. He might be my new favorite player. And he's a catcher. That hurts.
Well, now we got another catcher, because Kansas City already has 2 of their top 4 prospects as catchers. And so now here's another one. Ramon Ramirez, 20 years old, 266 average isn't great, but 388 on base and a 531 slugging. And that's really impressive in Kansas City's ballpark in this league. to hit for that kind of power. So just for reference, I believe that Bobby Witt Jr. hit for something like a 430 slugging in the short time he was in the Carolina League. So
okay.
This is not a park that usually you hit well in for power. So
and Ramirez, leading the league with 4 home runs. And he also, I remember last year discussing the fact that this is a guy. This is another guy with Kansas City. Rich at a position that they have failed to be able to really get a MLB backup at this moment because Perez is still kind of the guy. But get more names.
And this is starting to feel like when St. Louis had Carson Kelly, and they had that whole list of guys that were very solid catching prospects, and they were just kind of waiting for Yachty to say, okay, I'm done. And then he extended it long enough to where they had to trade all those guys away.
And Ivan Herrera was the final boss in that scenario, but he just waited him out. He didn't beat him out.
Yeah, he actually kind of was the Ramon Ramirez in that situation, because he was the young guy when they were all waiting, and then
went to the AFL. And then still 3 years later hadn't debuted.
Yeah, exactly. So no, I really, this was fun. There's probably a ton of guys that we didn't cover here, folks. That isn't the goal. We aren't covering the best and brightest. We're covering guys who have pretty numbers right now. And that can change throughout the year. Somebody could go on a 2-week streak and all of a sudden they're hitting better than anyone on here. One of these guys can go on a 2-week slump, and we shouldn't have been talking about them. That's life. That's minor league ball. But that's your hitters. And that allows us to focus the next week on our AAA pitching. And our man, Eddie, says he's looking forward to the AAA pitchers next week. So are we, Eddie. There's some really fun ones that we get to talk about. So, Robbie, you got anything else you want to
No, Blue Jays picked up Casey Lawrence, so I think he's going to get a spot start. Seattle was using him.
Seattle and Toronto. I think he needs to kind of have the two of them set up a shared apartment for him. He's
going coast to coast for this.
He's just kind of bouncing between the two of them this year so far. So
but anyway, that's the only other. I mean, that's not of any note to anybody. But I did want to say before we wrap up that. At Great Wolf Lodge, where I went, they had a Fast and Furious video game, and it is all the excitement of the movies. Cannot recommend enough. They also have a water park, but the Fast and Furious video game, that's what you go for, people. Yeah, Niagara Falls. Skip the falls, go to Great Wolf Lodge. Fast and Furious video game.
Genius.
All right. Well, on that note, we're going to say thank you to all of you who have stuck with us, 350 almost of you right now, who are watching this on various platforms. And check us out next week when we're talking about AAA pitching. Do all the things, like, subscribe, tell your friends, subscribe on their phones, all those sorts of things. That would be great. And I understand that if we get up to 2,000 soon enough, Robbie plans to color his beard. So, I mean, that's kind of fun.
It's slowly graying. Anyway, all right, that's enough for this week, everybody. We'll see you next week.